an engine on fire.
B-17 out of control at 3 o'clock.
Come on, you guys, get out of that plane. Bail out.
There's one. He come out of the bomb bay.
Yeah, I see him.
There's a tail gunner coming out.
Watch out for fighters.
Look, he's bailing out.
Don't yell on that intercom.
Fighters, 10 o'clock.
So today I'm at Memorial Park Cemetery here in Battle Creek, Michigan. And instead of featuring several stories about the cemetery this time, I'm going to be focusing on just one man. A man who changed the way the armed forces dealt with a very important aspect of warfare that had a profound impact on those people waiting to hear about the fate of their loved ones at home. So come along and join me. This is an amazing story, and he was an amazing man. Friedrich Wilhelm Zinn was born in Galesburg, Michigan on February 14, 1892, to his German parents August and Elida Zinn. He was more commonly known as Fred or Frederick throughout his life. In 1914, he graduated from the University of Michigan with a degree in civil engineering in one hand and $200 in the other. He'd been saving for a trip to go around the world and decided that the $200 would have to do. He traveled from Montreal to Belgium for $30, and then from Belgium to London for $50. While in London, the First World War began. Acting on information he was told with certainty that the war would be over in 9 months, he crossed the English Channel to France, and on August 24, 1914, volunteered as the equivalent of a buck private in the French Foreign Legion infantry. While in this service, he took with him his camera and captured photos of the front. At that time, war photographers from newspapers and magazines were not permitted near the front, but he was a soldier with a camera. He was able to sell his photos to Leslie's magazine and other news outlets. His first photos would earn him $3, whereas his last check earned him $600. Among his friends that he made while in service at the time were Charles Nerdoff and James N. Hall, later to become the celebrated authors of the Bounty trilogy Mutiny on the Bounty, Men Against the Sea, and Pitcairn's Island. A year after his arrival on the front, following action in several vicious campaigns, German shrapnel put him out of the infantry. When he was released from the hospital in 1916, he attended French flying school and was assigned to the service aeronautique as a member of the Lafayette Flying Corps. At first, he was assigned as a bomber sitting in the rear of the plane. However, his skills with photography were noticed by his superiors, and he was assigned to take a camera and serve in a role as reconnaissance. Zinn became the first American aerial photographer operating deep within enemy lines from the rear cockpit of a Farnham and Sopwith 1.5 strutter recon plane. It was seldom that his dangerous work received the publicity accorded to pursuit pilots, and Zinn and his pilot performed invaluable strategic tactical work without benefits of headlines. When America entered the war in 1917, Zinn, who was serving as a sergeant at that point, was the first man of the Lafayette Flying Corps requested by the new and inexperienced aviation section, Signal Corps' U.S. Army. Zinn was commissioned a captain in October 1917 and served at headquarters with General William Billy Mitchell's staff and elsewhere in France until the armistice. He was in charge of personnel and training, sending all the replacement aviators and observers to the front, and assignment of arriving pilots to squadrons. He came out of the war commissioned a major and was promoted to colonel in 1921, a rank he held until he died in 1960. He was one of the small number of legionnaires who entered the war in August 1914 to survive 4 years of active service and over 3 years in combat units. Some French Legion units were close to 100% casualties in the intense trench warfare during that time. Following the war, Zinn proposed a new revolutionary idea never before considered by the War Department: the location and recovery of lost airmen. He told them that he wanted to find the lost airmen he had sent into the war and felt that he could find them and bring home their remains to bring closure to the families. It was a concept the American military had never before considered. Assigned to this task, he went to Germany to attempt to locate the graves of some 200 missing airmen. He worked in a tiny office in Berlin and even enlisted the aid of former German ace Ernst Udet in his quest. Udet Udet would later build up Hitler's air arm and was placed in charge of design and production of all German warplanes in World War II. Zinn ultimately found 196 men after months of painstaking efforts, including that of Quentin Roosevelt, the youngest son of President Theodore Roosevelt, before returning to the United States. He was also able to recover the personal effects of 60 flyers and return them home to their families, including those of Quentin Roosevelt. Upon returning home from Europe, he married Ruth Hitt, a Battle Creek school teacher, on August 2, 1919. He joined his father in the feed firm of A.K. Zinn and Company, and in 1939, he was the president of the Chamber of Commerce. When World War II started, Zinn lobbied the War Department to set up a system to recover the remains of missing Allied aviators. Leveraging his relationships with men like Eddie Rickenbacker and General Hap Arnold, Zinn created the Missing Air Crew Report System. His techniques, such as standardized serial numbers on aircraft parts, ensured that countless families would learn the fates of their missing men. Zinn's procedures were so effective, they were adopted by the U.S. Army Air Forces and became standard worldwide in the search for downed flyers, and are still used today. When the Army Air Corps would not let him continue his work, Fred joined the Office of Strategic Services, OSS, the precursor to the CIA. There, his ground search for missing airmen was to be his cover as he conducted work for X-2 counterintelligence. He served in the OSS in North Africa, Italy, and southern France during the Second World War. His efforts recovered the remains of hundreds of airmen while he spied against the Germans and Italians during the conflict. After the war, Fred Zinn returned to Battle Creek to rejoin the feed company and serve as president for a time. He later became a leader in civic affairs and was elected as a state representative in 1954. During this time in the legislature, he devoted much of his time to safety and the Salk polio vaccine. He served only one term, losing the election in 1956. In 1953, he founded the Wolverine Management Company to manage his real estate holdings and remained active in that firm until his hospitalization later in life. He also worked for some years as a real estate salesman. Among other offices he held in the community was the commander of the George A. Custer American Legion Post, president of the Michigan Reserve Officers Association, and president of the Battle Creek Historical Association. He also served as the president of the County Red Cross Chapter, the Battle Creek Air Force Association Chapter, and later the president of the state AFA. He passed away on October 4th, 1960 at the age of 68, and he was buried with full military honors at Memorial Park Cemetery in Battle Creek. He was inducted into the Michigan Aviation Hall of Fame in 2021. Even today, his files at the National Archives are among the most requested because of the success of his methods in recovering aviators. Frederick Zinn was considered by those who knew him as among the highest type of honored American citizens and a great loss to the community of Battle Creek and the nation. His eulogy was delivered by State Representative August Johannesson, where he described Fred Zinn as a splendid citizen whose career was distinguished by its many-sidedness. I think he will be most remembered and honored, however, for his devoted efforts during and after both World Wars in organizing and directing searches for information regarding his missing comrades in arms. In these activities, Fred Zinn symbolizes to me the deep concern which the government and the people of the United States ought always to display for individual members of the armed forces who serve the nation in time of war, hot or cold. His legendary work changed forever how America dealt with its missing airmen. Today, his legacy lives on in the Air Force creed, "I will leave no airmen behind." So that's going to conclude today's journey through history, looking at the life of Frederick Zinn, a man who changed the way search and rescue and recovery was done in the United States in wartime and post-war time, and bringing closure to all these families of fallen airmen. It's staggering to think of the amount of impact that he had from his ideas in pushing through what he did in his time, and the system that he put in place to make it possible to recover these great heroes and bring them home. So if you like today's video, please take a minute to hit the like button down there. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Share the video with others so that more people can hear about Frederick Zinn. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
B-17 out of control at 3 o'clock.
Come on, you guys, get out of that plane. Bail out.
There's one. He come out of the bomb bay.
Yeah, I see him.
There's a tail gunner coming out.
Watch out for fighters.
Look, he's bailing out.
Don't yell on that intercom.
Fighters, 10 o'clock.
Watch those 2 at 12, Vin. They're coming in.
They're coming in, Scotty.
Get that ball turret on him.
Save the ammunition as much as possible.
Watch that fighter coming in at 3 o'clock.